We're with Bryan Doherty from Stewart-Peterson. As Bryan, we start to head in towards the end of the year. We're seeing some good news from dairy producers out there regarding prices, both from the feed and milk end, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, good export market so far. We've seen milk prices rally up here in the last 6-8 weeks. We've got an average price for all of 2014. If we took the futures market and added all the months together and divided by 12, the average price is $17 right now. So that's a good price. We haven't seen that in some time. So I want to encourage dairy producers not to get complacent. We have two things: uptrending milk price and uptrending milk prices, and then a downtrend for grain prices, and it's specifically corn. So when you look back historically and try and study the market a little bit, you'll notice that those trends usually move together. And now we have divergence. So now is not the time to become complacent with your milk marketing or feed input buying, especially in soybean meal, because we're going to head into southern hemisphere weather that could really, change the look in this bean market. The USDA indicated 170 million bushels of carryout for beans. That's pretty tight. Last year's number was only 125 million, so we're within 50 million bushels of that. So it's a pretty tight number, which would suggest to me that the bean market, and specifically bean meal, could become a very exciting market, or very bullish, if the southern hemisphere weather starts to act up.
Yeah, we were hearing about the nice corn prices, with beans a little bit higher. But what about you'd mentioned now's not the time to be complacent. Can you give us maybe some specifics on what a dairy producer might be looking at for 2014?
Well, I sure can. The mindset of the dairy producer is, look, we've been trying to get by here for the last 2 or 3 years. We've struggled with these high grain prices, and I think they're kind of breathing a sigh of relief. But with that sigh, step back, kind of regroup, and then start thinking about the future. And when you look at your neighbor and your fellow producers and your peers, not too many of the big guys are contracting. They're generally growing or expanding their operations. So if the export market falters, I'm worried that milk prices all of a sudden start heading down. And when they start to head down, things sort of compile, and then there's all the reasons why milk prices can't go higher. That starts to surface. So right now, as we look ahead, the urgency, I guess, from our perspective is, look, you've got some decent prices and margins on the table that are livable. They're never good enough. I'll always hear that. Well, we need even more. But this is a kind of a price level that gets started. Sell 25% of your milk, buy puts under the market, use fence strategies, do something where you can really start to manage the scenario that if milk prices go down, you've done your operation some good, and maybe a lot of good. Same thing on the input side. Start really looking at corn and meal prices and ask yourself, how much lower do I think corn can really go? And the mindset is bearish in corn right now. We're going to produce all this crop next year, and the southern hemisphere is going to produce more corn. Those long-term range forecasts are generally inaccurate. They're usually too bearish or too bullish, and I think that's too bearish. I think we're getting close to the low, if not already the low, in corn prices. It's fall. This is when corn prices are expected to bottom.
All right. Hey, thanks, Bryan. Appreciate the comments. Bryan Doherty from Stewart-Peterson.
Thank you. Nice to see you.